The story opens with chaos. The stars are silent, but death moves between them. Broken ships drift through the black. Engines dead, hulls torn apart. This was once the mighty Zorath Empire, a race that ruled half the galaxy. Now their fleets float like corpses, forgotten by everyone they once controlled. Inside one of those shattered vessels, alien soldiers sit in darkness. They have no fuel, no food. The air recyclers are failing. Their commander, General Karth, stares at the empty stars outside the viewport and whispers, "So this is how we end." Starving in the dark, no one answers. There are only quiet breaths and weak heartbeats. The Galactic Council, the same organization that once feared the Zorath, has sent out a single message to every race. No contact, no aid, let them die, and everyone obeys. The Zorath had started the war, burned worlds, enslaved species. Now that they've lost, no one dares help them. Their enemies watch from afar, satisfied. Days pass. The fleet grows silent. Some ships stop transmitting. Others go dark then. A faint signal appears on their scanners. At first, the crew thinks it's a ghost, a trick of radiation. But it grows stronger. A small vessel approaches through the debris field, old and slow. General Karth narrows his eyes. "Identify that ship," he orders. A young officer checks the scanners, blinking in disbelief. "Sir, it's human." The command deck goes silent. Humans, the strange, unpredictable species from a small blue world, had fought in the war too. They were weak compared to most galactic powers, but clever. They built strange machines, used odd tactics, and survived when no one thought they could. But why would they come here? The Zorath had killed millions of humans during the war. Surely Earth hated them most of all. General Karth grips the railing. "Prepare weapons," he says weakly. "If they fire, we respond. But the weapons don't respond. The systems are dead. The Zorath can't fight. They can only wait." The human ship slows as it nears. Its hull is old, scratched. A cargo vessel, not a warship. Its engines flicker as if even it has traveled too far for too long. Then a voice comes through the comms. Calm, steady, human. "Zorath Fleet, this is Captain Elena Ross of the UNS Hope's Light. We mean you no harm." The aliens stare at each other. "No harm, that's impossible." Karth forces himself to answer. His voice cracks. "Why are you here, human? To watch us die?" There is a short silence. Then the reply comes, gentle but firm. "We brought food." The bridge goes dead quiet. "Food?" The humans send drones carrying metal containers. Inside them are real supplies, water, protein packs, medical kits. At first, the Zorath don't touch them. They think it's a trick, poisoned food maybe. But the youngest soldiers, too hungry to care, take small bites. And they live. No tricks, no poison. Only food. General Karth stares at the container in his hands. "Why?" he whispers. "Why would you feed your enemy?" No answer comes. Only the faint light of the human ship outside, patiently waiting. For days, the Hope's Light stays beside the dying fleet. Humans work quietly, sending help to every damaged vessel. They repair life support, give medicine, and share rations. The Zorath can't understand it. Other races send messages filled with hate. Let them die. But the humans feed them. Across the galaxy, observers begin to notice. Council monitors record everything and report to their leaders. The humans are helping the enemy. Without permission, whispers spread. They must want something. It's a trick. They plan to rebuild the Zorath under human control. But on that cold battlefield, none of that matters. To the starving Zorath soldiers, humanity becomes something else. Not a threat, not an enemy, but a mystery. One night, General Karth calls the human captain on the HoloLink. Her image appears. Tired eyes, soft voice, a woman who looks like she's seen too much war. "Human," Karth says slowly. "Do you expect us to surrender to you?" "No," she replies. "We expect you to live." The words confuse him more than any battle ever did. Later, as Karth watches the human ship fade into the black, he whispers to himself, "Perhaps mercy is their weapon." But far away in the shining halls of the Galactic Council, that same mercy is seen as danger. Council members argue in fear. "Humans are helping the enemy. They could change the balance of power." Stop them before the Zorath rise again. A decision is made in secret. An order is sent. A fleet will be dispatched to destroy the humans before kindness becomes rebellion. The human ship stayed in orbit for days. Every hour it sent more supplies to the dying Zorath fleet. Water, medicine, food, simple things. But to the starving aliens, they were miracles. At first, the Zorath soldiers didn't believe it was real. They kept expecting poison or hidden traps. Many refused to eat, but hunger is stronger than pride. By the fourth day, most of them gave in, and for the first time in weeks, they slept without pain. Inside the alien command ship, General Karth sat in silence, staring at a glowing container of human food. He turned it over and over in his hands. Every label was printed in human letters. Simple words. No hidden threats. He didn't understand it. Why would a human ship risk everything to help the race that once tried to erase them? Why would mercy come from an enemy? His thoughts were interrupted when the door opened. A young officer stepped in, saluting weakly. General Captain Ross requests to board the flagship. Karth frowned. Alone? Yes, sir. She says she brings more medical supplies. Karth hesitated. It could be a trick. A spy, a trap. But in his heart he knew. If the humans wanted to kill them, they would have done it already. He finally nodded. Let her come. A few hours later, the airlock doors opened and Captain Elena Ross stepped aboard the Zorath ship. She looked small compared to the towering alien guards around her. Her uniform was old and worn, but her eyes were sharp, calm, steady, and filled with something the aliens couldn't name. Courage. General Karth met her in the main hall. The air was heavy with the smell of burnt circuits and hunger. Karth's voice was deep but tired. You are brave to come here, human. Many of my kind would still kill you if they could. Ross didn't flinch. Maybe, but hunger kills faster than anger. We're here to stop both. Karth studied her carefully. You have no reason to help us. Why do this? She paused, looking at the broken walls and starving soldiers. Because once, long ago, Earth was starving too. No one helped us then. We remember what that feels like. For a moment, the great alien general couldn't speak. He looked down, ashamed. The silence between them said more than any speech could. Across the galaxy, however, silence was replaced by outrage. The Galactic Council had seen the human broadcasts, the images of humans feeding their former enemies. News spread fast through every system. Some called the humans fools. Others whispered in fear. Council leader Terrell of the Vian Dominion slammed his fist on the table. They defy our orders. No one was to contact the Zorath. Another council member hissed. If the Zorath recover, they could start another war. And humans might stand with them. Whispers turned into plans. The council began preparing a secret fleet, one that would restore order. Their real mission, destroy the humans before mercy spread. Back on the wrecked Zorath flagship, things slowly began to change. The humans worked side by side with aliens who once wanted them dead. Human engineers repaired engines. Human medics treated soldiers. They didn't care about race or flag and only survival. Karth watched it all with quiet confusion. He had seen war for centuries, betrayal, conquest, hatred, but never this. Never kindness like this. That night, one of his lieutenants approached him. General, this cannot be real. Humans must want something, information, technology, control. Karth shook his head slowly. No, they want nothing. That's what makes them dangerous. The lieutenant didn't understand. Dangerous how? Karth looked through the window at the small human ship shining in the distance. Because the galaxy doesn't know how to fight kindness. Meanwhile, Captain Ross sat in her quarters sending her daily report to Earth Command. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed. The Zorath fleet is stable. No aggression detected. We have given all possible aid. I do not expect thanks, but I see change in their eyes. Maybe that is enough. She paused before adding one last line. If the council moves against us, I will not retreat. We came here to feed, not to fear. She sent the message into the dark, not knowing it would be the last one Earth would ever receive from her ship. 2 days later, something strange appeared on long-range sensors. A formation of ships, enlarged, fast, and armed, was moving through hyperspace. Their signal codes matched the Galactic Council. Human scanners read the message header, Observation Fleet. But Captain Ross wasn't fooled. Observation fleets don't carry battleships. She turned to her crew. They're coming for us. Her second officer frowned. Because we fed the enemy? Ross nodded slowly. Because we did what they wouldn't. In the quiet of space, the Zorath slept, unaware that death was already on its way. And somewhere far beyond the Council's reach, humanity's message spread like a whisper across the stars. Even enemies deserve a chance to live. But whispers can become storms. And this one was about to shake the galaxy. The message from the Galactic Council arrived like a thunderstorm. It wasn't just words, it was a command. Humanity has violated Council Law 47A. You have aided an enemy marked for extinction. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. The transmission played across every human ship in the fleet. The crew listened in silence. They could almost feel the cold arrogance in those alien voices. Inside the command room of the Hope's Light, Captain Elena Ross stood with her officers. The blue glow of the hologram flickered across her face. She said nothing for a long moment. Finally, she whispered, "So mercy is a crime now." Her first officer, Lieutenant Marin, looked uneasy. "Captain, if we stay, they'll send warships." "The Council doesn't bluff," Ross nodded slowly. "I know, but if we leave, those people die." The room went quiet again. Every human there knew what staying meant. But none of them spoke against her. Far away in the shining towers of the Galactic Council Hall, the alien leaders argued. They were a mix of species, tall, thin, scaled, or covered in feathers, but their voices carried the same fear. Councillor Tyrell of the Vain Dominion slammed his claws against the table. "Humans are defying us. They must be punished." Another councillor hissed, "They don't understand order. They act on emotion, not logic." An older voice spoke up, deep and tired. Admiral Karen of Thal, one of the few who remembered Earth's early wars. "Perhaps emotion is their strength," he said quietly. "They do what others will not." Tyrell turned toward him, his eyes glowing red. "Strength? They feed murderers, Karen. They help the very monsters who burned their colonies." Karen sighed. "And yet they do it anyway. That should make you afraid." The chamber filled with whispers. Afraid, not of human weapons, but of human ideas. Kindness, forgiveness, unity. These were things the Council couldn't control. In the end, the vote was quick and cold. Send the observation fleet. If humans do not leave within 48 hours, erase them. Back near the ruined Zorath fleet, Captain Ross received another transmission, short and final. "You have 48 hours to withdraw. Continued presence will be seen as aggression." Ross stared at the message for a long time. Then she called General Karth on the comms. His image appeared, tired but alert. "The Council wants you gone," Karth said quietly. "If you stay, they will kill you." Ross gave a small, sad smile. "If we go, they'll kill you instead." "Seems like a simple choice." Karth's jaw tightened. "You risk your world for ours?" "We destroyed your colonies." "We killed your people." Ross looked straight at him. "Then maybe this is how we end the war. Not with guns, but with something better." For a long time, Karth said nothing. Finally, he spoke in a low voice, almost like a promise. "If you stay, we will stand with you." The next day, human crews worked double shifts, transferring more food and medical supplies to the alien ships. Even as sensors showed the incoming Council fleet, no one stopped. Humans fixed engines, patched hulls, and restored communications. Many of the Zorath soldiers still couldn't understand it. They had seen humans only as enemies, fragile, strange, too emotional to survive long in space. But now those same humans were saving their lives. One young Zorath medic approached a human engineer while they worked side by side. "Why do you help us?" he asked softly. "We would not have helped you." The human smiled faintly, handing him a tool. "Maybe that's why we're different." On the edge of the system, the first Council warships dropped out of hyperspace. Massive, gleaming vessels, far larger than anything the humans had. Their hulls carried the golden crest of peace enforcement, but everyone knew what that meant. The Hope's Light detected them instantly. The crew watched as the radar filled with red signals. "There were hundreds," Lieutenant Marin whispered. "They came faster than we expected." Ross nodded, her face calm. "Of course they did. Fear always moves fast." She turned to the communications officer. "Send a message to all ships, and human and Zorath alike." The officer nodded. "Message ready, Captain." Ross took a breath and spoke. "This is Captain Elena Ross of the United Nations starship Hope's Light. We came here to feed the dying. If that is a crime, then we will stand guilty together." She paused. "To the Zorath fleet, you are not alone anymore." Across the Zorath ships, the message echoed. "We are not alone anymore." It spread through the ranks like fire. For the first time in years, they felt something strange. Not fear, not hate. Hope. General Karth watched as his soldiers lifted their heads and whispered in disbelief. He clenched his fists, his heart heavy. "So this is what strength looks like," he murmured.
Not in power.
But in choice. But out in the dark, the Council fleet prepared its weapons. Their admiral sent one last encrypted signal to headquarters. Target locked. Human ship in sight, awaiting permission to engage. The reply came seconds later. Permission granted. The stars around the Hope's light began to glow red. Hundreds of weapons charged at once. The humans were outnumbered 100 to 1. Yet on the human bridge, Captain Ross stood tall, looking out the viewport. Her voice was calm. "They don't understand. We didn't come here to fight." Her eyes narrowed. "But we will, if that's what it takes to protect life." And with that, the first shots of the unexpected war began to light up the void. The void exploded with light. Laser fire streaked across the black sky, tearing through wreckage and debris. The Council fleet had arrived. Hundreds of warships moving in perfect formation, their silver hulls glowing like knives. They called it a peace enforcement action, but everyone knew what it really was: a massacre in the making. On board the Hope's light, Captain Elena Ross watched the scanners fill with red signals. Her ship was old, her crew small. They had no real weapons, only cargo drones and mining tools. But retreat was not an option. Behind them floated dozens of crippled Zorath vessels, still half dead, still dependent on human aid. If the humans left now, those aliens would be wiped out in minutes. Ross stood straight and calm. "Raise shields," she said quietly. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. And open a channel." Her voice carried across the entire battle network far to both sides. "This is Captain Elena Ross of Earth. We came here to save lives, not end them. Stand down and no one has to die." No response. Then the enemy admiral's voice cut through the static, cold and sharp. "Human vessel, you have defied Council orders. Power down your systems. Any resistance will be considered an act of war." Ross closed her eyes for one heartbeat, then whispered, "So be it." The first wave hit. Energy blasts slammed into the Hope's light's shields, shaking the hull like thunder. Sparks flew across the bridge. Crew members held their stations, shouting over alarms. Lieutenant Marin yelled, "Shields at 40%. "We can't take much more, Captain." Ross gritted her teeth. "Divert all power to forward shields." And launch the drones. Hundreds of small cargo drones shot out from the ship's belly. They weren't built for battle, but humans were creative. Each drone carried magnetized scrap metal and flares, confusing enemy targeting systems. The massive Council ships suddenly found their sensors filled with noise. False readings, fake ships, false energy signatures. "Now," Ross shouted. "Move into the asteroid field." The Hope's light dove into the dense debris, weaving between shattered rocks and ancient wrecks. Council warships followed, but their size worked against them. Their guns couldn't aim fast enough. Inside the field, humans used every trick they had. Reflective panels, decoy transmitters, old satellites converted into flash bombs. It wasn't strength that kept them alive. It was human cleverness. On one of the damaged Zorath cruisers, General Karth watched in awe. The small human ship darted between giants, taking hit after hit but never stopping. Every move was desperate and brilliant. He turned to his officers. "They fight not to win, but to protect us." The officer beside him whispered, "They'll die for us." Karth's jaw tightened. "Then we won't let them die alone." He slammed his claw on the control console. "Power up what's left of our weapons. Target the nearest Council ship." The Zorath crew stared in shock. "General, we can't win." "It doesn't matter," Karth roared. "The humans gave us food when we had nothing. We give them fire in return. The Zorath cannons came to life, old and weak, but they fired." Bolts of plasma streaked across the field, striking a Council destroyer and shattering its engines. For the first time in centuries, humans and Zorath fought side by side. Back on the Hope's light, Ross saw the energy bursts on her screen. Her eyes widened as she realized what was happening.
The Zorath.
"They're fighting with us." Her first officer smiled grimly. Guess they remembered who fed them. But there was no time to celebrate. The Council Admiral's voice returned, filled with fury. "You've chosen death, humans. So be it." Dozens of heavy cruisers charged their main cannons. Massive red beams tore through space, converging on the Hope's light. The impact was brutal. Metal screamed. The bridge lights flickered and died. "Shields failing," shouted Marin. "Reactor hit! We're venting atmosphere on Deck 3. Ross held onto the command rail, smoke filling the air. Her voice stayed calm even as the ship trembled. "Seal Deck 3, reroute life support. Don't stop firing." In the chaos, a new signal appeared, faint but clear. Civilian broadcasts. Hundreds of ships across neutral space were watching the live feed. The humans' transmissions had gone public. Now the entire galaxy could see what the Council was doing. Millions watched as the Peace Fleet fired on a single A. The battle was over. The human ships floated in silence among the ruins of war. Their hulls were torn open, their engines burned, and their power flickered like dying candles. The enemy fleet, the Council's so-called peacekeepers, had been defeated. Against all logic, the humans had won. But no one celebrated. The human commander, Captain Rhea Morgan, stood on the bridge of the supply ship Horizon Dawn, staring at the wreckage. The stars were filled with drifting metal, broken ships, and weak distress calls from both sides. Her crew waited for orders. The screen showed hundreds of escape pods. Some belonged to the aliens they had just saved. Others were from the Council ships that tried to destroy them. "Commander," said her officer quietly, "there are survivors." On both sides, Rhea didn't answer for a moment. She looked at the food crates in the cargo bay, the same ones they had carried across the galaxy. Then she said calmly, "Prepare the dropships. We're feeding everyone." The officer hesitated. "Even the Council soldiers?" Rhea nodded. "Even them." Hours later, the human rescue teams flew through the battlefield. They didn't come with weapons. They came with food, medicine, and stretchers. The rescued aliens could not believe what they saw. Humans kneeling beside them, wrapping their wounds, giving them water. One of the wounded Council soldiers grabbed a human's arm and whispered, "Why? Why are you helping me? We tried to kill you." The human medic smiled faintly. "Then you know how it feels. Don't make us regret saving you." The alien's eyes filled with tears. He lowered his head and whispered, "You're insane." "Maybe," the medic said softly, "but it's better than being cruel." Word spread fast. Across the war-torn system, every ship heard the same signal, a simple broadcast from Horizon Dawn. To all survivors, regardless of allegiance, food and shelter available. No weapons, no hostilities. At first, few believed it. Many thought it was a trap. But as more wounded were rescued, the truth became clear. Humans were feeding everyone. The aliens they had once fought beside, the enemies who betrayed them, even the soldiers who had tried to destroy their ships. Everyone received food and care. Among the survivors, a new name began to spread: the feeding of the fallen. Back on Earth, the Council's news channels mocked them. "Humanity has lost its mind," one anchor said. "They waste supplies on their enemies. Mercy will get them killed," another added. But others, especially the younger species of the galaxy, began to see things differently. They saw courage where others saw weakness. A small mining colony from the Varn species, inspired by humanity's actions, sent a convoy of their own, filled with medical supplies, to help. Then another joined. And another. Soon, what started as one human ship turned into a movement. A quiet, defiant act of mercy that the Council could not control. On the battlefield, Captain Rhea watched the rescued aliens gather near the human camp. Some of them knelt before her. One alien leader, once a commander of the fallen empire, stepped forward. His voice was weak but steady. "Why do you do this?" he asked. "We conquered your colonies. We enslaved your people. We burned your worlds. Why feed us?" Rhea looked at him for a long time. Her voice was calm but heavy. "Because hunger doesn't care about flags. Because mercy is something the galaxy forgot, and we didn't." The alien commander lowered his head, speechless. Days passed. The battlefield turned into a place of healing. Human ships created makeshift shelters. The wounded began to recover. Even the Council soldiers who had come to kill them now worked side by side with the humans, distributing rations to others. Something strange began to grow there. Trust. The same species that once fired on each other now shared the same meals. The same table. It was quiet at first. But in that silence, something powerful was being born. Then one night, as the stars glowed faintly through the smoke, Rhea recorded a message to Earth. "We have completed our mission. Supplies distributed to all survivors. Hostilities ceased. Some call us fools. Maybe we are, but I've seen what mercy can do. When you feed the fallen, you remind the galaxy what being human means." She paused before ending the message. "And if they hate us for it, let them. We'll still feed them tomorrow." That message spread through the galaxy. Billions watched it. And for the first time in centuries, they didn't see humans as dangerous or unpredictable. They saw them as something else entirely, the species that fed its enemies. It became a legend, whispered in the dark corners of space. A story that started with war and ended with food shared between enemies. And somewhere deep in the void, an old alien general looked toward Earth's direction and said softly, "The galaxy turned away, but they didn't." Years passed. The battlefield where humans once fed their enemies had become silent. Now green forests grew over the burned soil, and the wrecks of ships rested like old scars under the stars. But what happened there was never forgotten. The act of feeding their enemies had changed everything. At first it was just one small human supply ship defying orders. Then it became a story, a rumor, then a symbol. Now across hundreds of worlds, people whispered one phrase whenever war returned. Remember what the humans did. The Galactic Council had tried to bury it. They called it propaganda, a false story made to make Earth look noble. But survivors of the feeding, aliens, soldiers, civilians, began to speak. They shared what they saw. Humans giving food to those who once enslaved them. Doctors healing the wounded from both sides. Children of the fallen empire eating beside human kids, laughing together for the first time. And soon, something began to shift in the galaxy's heart. By the 5th year, the Council was no longer united. Dozens of member worlds questioned their leadership. They asked, if humanity is dangerous, why do they show mercy when we show none? The Council tried to silence them, but truth spread faster than fear. One alien governor said during a public broadcast, "When the galaxy turned away, humans stayed. When we punished weakness, they fed it." That single speech spread across the stars like wildfire. Meanwhile, Earth had changed too. No longer the quiet, careful species that avoided conflict. Humanity had become something greater. Not because of weapons, but because of reputation. The galaxy feared their technology, yes, but now it feared something even more powerful. Their kindness, because mercy that strong could not be controlled. Human fleets now carried banners not of conquest, but of aid. They entered war zones not to destroy but to feed, to rebuild, to heal. Even the old enemies of Earth had joined them. The same alien species that once tried to wipe out humanity now fought beside them, their soldiers wearing Earth's emblem on their armor. One night, on the orbital station Horizon Gate, a meeting took place. Human Ambassador Tessa Varn stood before representatives of 20 alien nations. Many of them were from the fallen empire that once attacked Earth. The air was quiet. Everyone waited for her to speak. She looked around and said simply, "Years ago, you were starving. The galaxy left you to die. We fed you. Not because you deserved it, but because someone had to remember what mercy means. Now the same thing is happening again. New wars, new borders, new greed. So I ask you all, will we repeat the galaxy's mistakes, or will we be the ones who feed it again?" The room fell silent. Then one by one, every representative stood. An old alien general, the same one who once swore to destroy Earth, bowed his head. "We will feed the galaxy, together." And that was the beginning of the Union of the Fallen, an alliance born not from fear, but from compassion. Months later, deep in uncharted space, the Union received a faint signal. It came from a world outside the Council's maps, a world surrounded by darkness and radiation. The message was short and broken, but clear enough. "This is Outpost Theta. We're starving. Anyone out there, please help," commanders argued. It could be a trap. It could be pirates or slavers pretending to be helpless. But when the message reached Earth, humanity's response was immediate. Prepare the supply fleet. The old human captain, Rhea Morgan, now retired but still remembered, sent a single message to the young officers leading the mission. "When you reach them, Don't ask who they are. Don't ask what they've done. Just feed them. That's how it started for us. That's how it should always be. The message spread again through the stars. Billions watched as human ships escorted by alien allies jumped into the dark. The Council warned them not to go. But the galaxy had already changed. This time, dozens of alien ships followed Earth's fleet, bringing their own food, medicine, and hope. When they reached the starving outpost, what they found stunned everyone, and it wasn't pirates. It wasn't soldiers, it was children. Hundreds of alien children from a forgotten colony, surviving in the dark. As human hands gave them food and blankets, one of the children looked up and whispered, "Who are you?" The young human officer smiled gently. "We're the ones who feed the fallen." That phrase became the new anthem of the galaxy. No longer a legend, no longer just a story, a movement. From war came compassion. From mercy came strength. And from one small act, a ship bringing food instead of fire, the entire galaxy began to heal. As the final image faded across 1,000 worlds, a message appeared on every screen glowing with the symbol of Earth. The galaxy turned away, but humanity stayed. And then, beneath it, a final transmission. "There are others starving in the dark. Shall we feed them too?" Fade to black.